Hey everyone, this is going to be commentary for my relatively recent one-all of Ketsui. This one's going to be a little different from my previous Dodonpachi Daiojo one-all commentary because I actually got the one-all in Ketsui. At this point, it's almost been, I believe, 7 weeks. So this one's going to be, a little more retrospective. In between now and that one-all, I played Ketsui a bit more. I've definitely improved both in terms of survival and scoring. Unlike in that video, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about like what I've improved in my routes since then. But overall, it's going to be the same style of commentary. And I guess we can talk a little bit about the context for this clear, even though there won't be as much to say in the previous video. But I immediately jumped into this clear right after finishing Dodonpachi Daiojo. I was muddling around in this game just a little as I was trying to clear Dodonpachi Daifukatsu's Black Label, as I said in my previous video. But once I completed Daifukatsu's Black Label, this became more of like a side thing while I was focusing on Daiojo as my main game. But of course, after I finished Daiojo, there was nothing I really wanted more than to finish this game, so yeah, this is the end product of that. It was about 2 months in between me finishing Daiojo and me finishing Ketsui. Maybe a little less, but that's the general time frame. This game definitely pushed me to a new level compared to Daiojo, mostly because it's a little less stable. Even though BX or any EX shot type, either BEX or AEX, it does get fewer resources. It's only about 16 bombs total. In Ketsui, your lives can definitely be a lot less stable due to the aggressiveness of the Zakos compared to Daiojo. You can definitely feel a little inconsistency. I was definitely doing a little bit about it as I was coming up on the clear. I can't make my runs be consistent, but I got over that hill, and so we're here now. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so as we get into it, the first thing that we should talk about is how Ketsui differs from all the other shmups that are out there. So you may notice that as we're taking out these Zakos and picking off these mid-sized tanks, you hear this beeping sound, and that's the lock-on shot in action. So once you pick up, I believe, the second power-up item, you get the third and fourth drones at your sides. And so while you're just shooting normally, these drones, just shoot off additional attacks that look pretty much like a standard shot in any shmup. But once you are focused, the drones will lock on to whatever enemy is closest to them, and do this homing lock-on laser shot that you see right here. And these drones actually lock on based on their position, not yours overall, so they can actually end up locking on to different targets. And as you can see during that mid-boss, it's best to lock on all 4 drones to the same target for maximum damage. And then one important thing that you can see me abusing a lot here is that the drones will lock on faster the closer you are to the target. And the lock-on shot will also do more damage if you're closer to the target. So right at the gate, you can really tell that this game is trying to get you to be aggressive and get right in their face so that you can speed kill them and make sure they don't stick around to, spit out more bullets. And as we head into the boss, we can also talk about the scoring system. So as you can see, killing enemies is spitting out those chips, and you cash out those chips by destroying enemies while you're in the lock shot, which spends a few of your chips. So it's this kind of sort of push and pull, cash in, cash out sort of dynamic. Well, we can just ignore the first boss. It's kind of easy here and keep talking about the scoring system. So if you kill an enemy with your standard shot, it gives you chips that have value based on your proximity to the enemy when they died. And it also starts a chip timer. And while that chip timer is active, whenever you kill an enemy with the lock shot, it'll drop chips of the same value as the chip that started the timer. So you can see I'm locking onto these mid-sized tanks, and as I kill them, the 5 chips spawn out. And that's because you started the chip timer by killing these weak Zako enemies, and then I, kept the chip timer going until I could kill the big enemies, and getting them to spawn more 5 chips. So that's sort of the basic, flow of this game. If you're, looking to try to score, which I highly recommend because the scoring system is really fun to engage with, even if you're just playing for survival. And also because it's a cave game, so you're going to need to score to get those extents. Moving away from the scoring for a little bit, this is probably the first major wall that you'll see in the game, especially if you're sort of newer to shmups. Experienced players probably won't have too much trouble with this, especially because you can bomb it twice and just be over with it. But these 2 patterns are pretty brutal, and it's going to be okay to just bomb them if you're starting to learn the game, Don't beat yourself up too much for it. So this Zaka Rush right here, with all the helicopters swarming you, is actually based on the scrolling background after you kill the mid-boss. And so depending on how much the background has scrolled, and it does loop around, so sometimes you'll see top players waiting just to scroll the background optimally. And you want it to spawn more Zakos so that you can, get more chips from them, get more points. This section is definitely a step up in difficulty. And you see, I screw up the routing there. I let those small copters live a little too long. These biplanes are definitely the star of the show here, though. You definitely have to be careful to focus and lock them on quickly. And not let the other enemies, get in the way of you killing these biplanes. Okay, but now we're coming up on the Stage 2 boss. This is also quite a step up from the Stage 1 boss. Since it's a ground enemy, you can stand on top of it and lock into it instantly. And you're going to need to do this in order to speed kill this first phase before it fires the final attack, which is rather painful to dodge. You're going to see it coming up right here, and it starts and it goes away as quickly as it started. Yeah, so as you can tell, speed killing things is going to be pretty important in this game, and this is true for pretty much every boss after the first boss. You're going to want to speed kill some of the phases to avoid dodging the nastier attacks. Here, I'm not a fan of this strategy anymore, because evaluating the diagonals is pretty difficult. I stole this strategy from Juju Kenobi's Aura, but the more I use it, the more I don't like it, because dodging those diagonal shots is kind of hard to evaluate the angle. So recently I've been working with Moglar's strategy, where instead of dodging it at a diagonal, because the reason you dodge it at the diagonal is so you can not have to cut back through the final attack. But I'm talking about this for a bit too long. Let's get into Stage 3. So the first thing that you're going to notice is that these mid-sized copters called spears spit out a ton of 5 chips when they die. So they're really satisfying to 5-chip kill. Highly recommend, even if you're only playing for survival. And that golden bat, you're going to see it a second time throughout this stage. Again, it's better to get in, lock it quickly. Same with these boats. They have a ton of HP, so you're going to really need to get in there. And you want to make sure that you kill it quickly so that you don't have to cut back through these swarms of Zaka fire as the ship is still alive, because it's going to be pretty difficult and you're probably going to have to bomb. Okay, and then right now we're coming up on the mid-boss, so we just have to kill this last spear, and we're going to go straight into it. You can see I tried to fish for some more chips, because scoring is too fun in this game. But yeah, this mid-boss is very brutal because it contains a hidden extend, but in order to unlock it, you have to kill every single part of this ship right here, and you have to do it without bombing. So learning this route is pretty important to the overall health of the run. You have to be able to do this consistently if you want to 1cc the game. Or at least semi-consistently. Yeah, here we try to kill all the other parts early so we can get into that comfortable dodging pattern as the mid-boss reveals its final phase. These copters, they spawn more as you kill the the mid-boss faster. I believe the maximum, like, that the optimal world records go for is 6, but it's pretty tough to do so. You have to use a very unorthodox looking strategy, and it's not worth it to learn for survival anyways. But it is kind of an interesting thing you can do to increase your score. Here we're coming up on the final section of the stage. After beating the mid-boss, you're pretty much in the home stretch. With one final golden bat, you just want to move very slowly here. Start from one end and just keep going slowly, slowly, slowly. You definitely do not want to have to cut back throughout this storm of Zako fire. That's a pretty big thing with this game's routing in general. When you're faced with big enemies confronted or backed up by a lot of Zako, you don't want to have to cut back while the big enemy is still alive. Anyways, let's move into the first boss. I like to bomb the first pattern here, not only for consistency, but also it damages the side pods, which prevents them from firing blue walls during this pattern. And you really don't want to see that last pattern, so the extra damage from the bomb helps immensely. Here, Tigers kind of does struggle to dodge this pattern sometimes, depending on your luck. So I had to bomb it there. We want to get up close and speed kill this phase before it shoots the final walls, because Tiger especially has a tough time dodging it. Here, you just want to stick to the blue walls in order to maintain safe dodging. As long as you stick to the blue walls, the red walls can't get you. And right as we exit the stage, you see that, as mentioned earlier, we hit the 45 million benchmark, and we got the final score extend. Stage 4 is where the intensity really starts to kick up, and you have to start routing the game. Especially because these mid-size planes spew out a ton of bullets if you leave them alive. And these blue sort of linear shots go really fast and start to take up a ton of the screen. So when you put these two enemies together, they become really frustrating if you haven't, played the stage a ton of times and understand the routes. Here, I kind of screwed it up. I had a chance to slip out, but I wasn't planning properly. But you can see I almost had it there. But it's no problem. This run is, as of yet, still on pace. Here, I actually leave this big tank enemy alive in his final phase, just because it prevents some airborne enemies from spawning. And here we're coming up on the mid-boss. So the bombless strategy for this mid-boss is actually rather frustrating, because the strategy is to stall out phase 1 until you can get an optimal cancel by stopping the phase during this attack, which is really frustrating, so I don't bother to do it. I'm just going to plan to spend a bomb here. I don't think the bombless strategy is worth learning, even for survival players. Your time would be better spent just trying to save a bomb somewhere else than to save a bomb there. Here comes the first nightmare of the stage, appropriately named because, they can be nightmares if you leave them alive for too long, as they eat up huge amounts of screen estate. Here we're entering this side-scrolling section with these boxes that spew this sort of homing plus, static, spread pattern. This can get real disorienting, especially if it's on your first 3 playthroughs. But if you route it and just play it for long enough, you'll get used to it, and you'll be able to do that section relatively stress-free. The important part is actually killing the right side boxes at the start quickly, so that it doesn't screw up your transition into the killing left side boxes. Here, I try to do the same strat, but I end up getting myself trapped. And then here we have the second nightmare. Here you want to just hold your ground and move to the right slowly, but I didn't really know that as I was going for this, so I end up moving too quickly, not really holding my ground, and just ended up having to bomb this nightmare. Which is not too bad, it's better to be alive than regret not spending your bombs. Rather close shave here at the end of this, right as we go into the stage 4 boss. With this boss, unlike the other bosses, you actually want to wait to lock on until it lands fully. Because if you don't wait, you'll lock onto one of these yellow wing thingies. This pattern is a rather unintuitive dodge, and to be honest, I probably would recommend just bombing this phase. But, you know, I've got no bombs, so... it's kind of over from here. But yeah, that's the attack you really don't want to see as it comes toward you. This first attack of the second phase is pretty random. You generally want to stay in the middle and try not to get pushed around by these bullet walls, but I probably could have made it out there, but it was really risky. For this attack, you want to lock onto the drone as quickly as possible and take it down. But here I screw up the exit. It's actually better to just not worry about the main boss coming up towards you and just stay in one place and have faith that you'll kill the drone in time before the boss reaches you. This attack, pretty relaxing, you know. And you saw the safe spot in the attack before it. Alright, so, yeah, this spinny attack, it's pretty deadly. I recommend just bombing it. Mostly because it's not actually intuitive how to do this around the world rotation. But when I have no bombs and I have to go for the dodge, the way I dodge it is, once it starts shooting more of the blue lines, I just track the second one and try to follow behind it constantly. Because if you don't, you'll probably get killed by the red bullets. Anyways, moving into stage 3. I've been talking mostly about the routing and not so much like, the experience of playing the game. Yeah. Sorry, I don't really know what to say here. I didn't script this or anything. This is I took a few notes, but this is mostly off the cuff. But this first part, you know, is fairly easy breathing. These refrigerator-looking enemies give you a screen cancel as you clear them. So you're going to want to take them out as quickly as possible. Especially because they start to dominate the screen if you leave them alive for too long. There's not much to say about this opening segment. It's compared to the rest of the stage, it's not too bad. The only thing is that sometimes these refrigerator enemies give you patterns that are like really difficult to squeeze through, and I honestly don't fully understand their behavior yet, so that's definitely one major point of improvement from our runs in the future. Again, we've got like a repeat showing of these spear enemies, but now the pattern they fire is a bit fiercer. But, you know, they're still just as fun to 5-chip kill, because they spew out a ton of chips. Here's the opportunity for the second hidden extend. You have to kill these, you know, like, clone chips without hitting them with the bomb. And so that's why I bombed there. It's for consistency, just to take out those big tank enemies, so that I don't have to bomb on the clone ship and lose the hidden extend. This mid-boss here is definitely one of the most difficult parts of the stage, probably the second most difficult part. You want to kill that part first up top for some extra damage, and then lock onto the cannon that shot first in order to dodge the rest of that pattern. Here, this pattern looks kind of intimidating, but you can do it fairly easily with some micro-dodging. Because the spiral doesn't, like, you know, diverge that much, so you can just slip through it fairly easily. And then here you stay under the cannon that's still alive to dodge this. This final attack is really brutal. Usually you'll have to end up cutting through the smaller blue bullets, which is pretty difficult, and I screwed up here. You should definitely expect to bomb this pattern if you're just going for the 1-all. And then here it's the same as the stage 2 boss, where the amount of Zako that spawn are dependent on the way the background scrolls. Here you want to lock onto these tanks and kill them quickly. I chickened out, which is not good here, because you want to sweep to the left and then back to the right in order to be ready for these mid-sized ships from stage 4. And then start on the right here and just pan slowly to the left, and you'll kill them all, no problem. Okay, now we're approaching the backwards descent into hell, which is definitely the hardest part of the stage, especially because of the Mega Nightmare that lurks at the end. But these large ships and the Suicide Zako that they're accompanied by are no joke either. I definitely think you should just plant a bomb for this Mega Nightmare. It's really brutal to dodge. Unfortunately, if you kill it fast enough, you do get these 2 bonus ships. And you can see I died here. But, you know, this pace is overall really good, so, like, at this moment mentally, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with the run. You can tell that my commentary is probably a bit more detached than my Diojo video. And that's because, you know, I invest, or, like, the span of time in between this recording and this one-all is way bigger than for my Diojo video. So it's, you know, me being a little more emotionally detached, and I'm kind of, like, reflecting on, like, oh, how I've gotten better since then. Let me know if you think that's more or less interesting. I can definitely see it both ways. You know, some people prefer the raw emotion, while some people would just prefer the analytics. But yeah, we're coming up on the final section now. You gotta do this micro dodge, which actually reminds me a lot of Koryu, his, I believe, 3rd to last power in the 2nd phase. And then the final stretch. These clone ships, you gotta lock on and kill them quick, and there's a point at which they spawn 2 at once, which is coming up just about now. So I plan a bomb for that, because I don't really want to deal with it. And then coming up, I make a major, super embarrassing looking choke. Which, you know, I still have got a life left. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but, like, Jesus Christ, this felt bad. But yeah, 4 bombs is more than enough to take down this boss. Lock onto the right leg first, because as it finishes spinning, it's going to end up in front. Which means you're going to do a bit more damage to it over the course of this first phase. And, you know, every drop of damage counts in Ketsui. Here I bombed because I was just kind of nervous. You know, you could see a world in which I got scraped by that and died and lost this fairly good pace run. This attack looks kind of threatening, but it's actually static, so you can plan the same route through it every time. Same with this attack. You just have to know how to dodge it ahead of time, and then just do it. Now, this attack is really nasty. I don't know what the deal with it is. It's fairly random. It looked like it's random, but just plan a bomb for it, I think. Here, you just kind of move in a box. Fairly easy attack to dodge. And it's very similar to the final attack that this boss dodges. Here you just move through the patterns of you just move through the paths left by the red bullets, but, you know, I kind of screwed it up. But yeah, this is more or less going as planned. Just bomb this final phase once and you're pretty much just done with it. And that's the clear. 79 million. Yeah, so in between now and this clear, I've got another clear that ended with a life left and almost 95 million. So you could probably tell, or in fact, I've already said about as much. So it's not even like you need to guess at it, but yeah, this run was definitely a little more, or this run's commentary was definitely a little more distant than my Diojo run. Because I'm looking back at this and I'm thinking, like, oh yeah, like I could have done better here, here, and here, and it's not just could have, like I have done better here, here, and here, and that's kind of interesting, honestly. It's kind of like a new viewpoint. This is probably the shmup I put in the most time into after I've already beaten it. Unless you count, you know, doing hard and lunatic difficulties in a Toho, which, I don't know, sometimes they feel like entirely separate games, honestly, but well, that's not really true. But yeah, I am actually interested in, I'm visiting Korea this summer, so I'm interested in going to Akatronics and playing this on a real live cab. So, you know, I'm probably going to be playing this a little bit more from here on out, trying to improve my score and trying to improve my consistency in the one-alls. So, I'll probably end up delivering a few more one-alls of Ketsui, and maybe even do some practice to try to get into a multi-loop, which is, you know, going to be really difficult. But it's going to be an interesting pursuit for me. Yeah, that's more or less all I have to say about this. Hope you enjoyed the clear. And let me know how you felt about this video's commentary compared to the last video's commentary. Anyways, that's about it for now. Peace.